time to call your lawyer.
As we do each Wednesday at this time, it's Ask the Lawyer with our friend and yours, Bruce L. Scheiner. We've got a question that maybe is the one you submitted to present to him today for a professional analysis at Kicks Country. Speaking of questions, we are actively seeking yours. If you have a question about the law, then you can always send it to us through the website, kickscountry929.com. As you listen in this morning, if this is your question, for example, or if it's not, please remember the advice you're about to hear is not specifically for you. It's just general advice, and therefore shouldn't be considered to be what you need for your specific case. You need to sit down face-to-face with a professional and find out what your options are. The one thing we can say for sure, though, is you should not sign anything or say anything, make any statements without speaking to an attorney first. Free consultations are available through many attorneys. I know Bruce L. Scheiner offers them, so why not take advantage of that? Let's see what Bruce thinks of today's legal brain teaser. Please make welcome attorney for the injured, Bruce L. Scheiner. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Todd. How are you doing this morning?
Just fine. And how about you?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
The new year treating you well so far?
Well, the New Year's treated me well, and they gave me a great surprise, and I have a new nickname.
You do?
Yep. They're going to call me Poppy.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. PJ's having a little boy in May.
Oh, isn't that something? Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
That's awesome news. Is this your first grandchild?
It will be, yes, sir.
You're going to have so much fun. I don't know from experience, but from what I can tell, you're going to have so much fun.
Well, I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Well, that's awesome news. It really is. We've got a question today to ask, as we typically do on these Wednesday mornings. And hopefully you can lend a little opinion on this and see if we can't help somebody out. You ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. It says, my family recently returned to our home here in Fort Myers after spending 7 days at a beachside resort in the Panhandle. It was a great time until our last evening. I decided to end our vacation by taking the family to a nice restaurant rather than ordering a pizza. I decided to shower and get myself ready. When I jumped into the shower, I felt extremely hot water coming out of the shower head. Before I could turn the water off, I suffered third-degree burns on my face, scalp, chest, arms, and hands. This is according to the doctor who treated me in the emergency room. We did have a notice slipped under the door that morning notifying us that the water was being shut off to the condo for 3 hours from 1 to 4 p.m. for some type of work. But there was no mention that a water heater was being replaced or that we should be careful when using the hot water. The resort, while sympathetic, told me there was no negligence on their part because they gave us notice that work was being done on the water and I should have been more careful. My question is, what can I do? This is more of a he said, she said. I only know that I have mounting medical expenses with more coming and I cannot afford to handle it all. Please give me advice. The first thing that came to my mind is my sympathies go out here because nothing more painful than scalds and burns. Very painful stuff.
I agree with you 100%. The burn is the worst and most painful injury you could possibly sustain. Well, going through it analytically, of course your listener should immediately contact a professional, a good personal injury lawyer. And the way I would look at it is, again, number one, I would hope that they had health insurance because health insurance will jump in there and pay the bills initially. I don't buy the hotel or motel's excuse that they gave them notice. All they told them about was that they were working on the water. You know, how is someone to assume that by working on the water, if you turn on the water, there would be scalding water coming out and causing third-degree burns? So I think that the hotel would be responsible for the injuries. There may be, in Florida we have what's called comparative negligence.
Yes.
Which means you compare the negligence of the person causing the harm and the person receiving the harm. Well, there may be a small amount of comparative negligence, in my opinion, on the person who got burned, but I think the greatest liability rests with the hotel. Just by saying somebody's working on it doesn't put them on notice of the harm, which is what they're required to do.
I'm glad you said what you said about comparative negligence, because we were debating this as we typically do, and it makes us sort of uncomfortable and feel sort of unsympathetic, but several folks in the studio here said the same thing. Who gets into a shower without sticking their hand in first to make sure the water's the temperature that they prefer it to be? And so I was wondering if that might be something that they could come back with. It sounds like that.
Well, I think that's an excellent point, and it's hard to come up with a precise percentage, but you're right. I always test the water with my hand before I get under the shower, mainly because I'm afraid it's going to be too cold. But
right, exactly.
But I agree with that. On the same hand, they still should not, have scalding water coming out of the faucet, especially for a large commercial establishment where there's, many guests that would be using the water.
Well, to find out and to figure out how that comparative negligence might apply, she definitely has to get in front of a personal injury attorney and talk the case through. That's the next step, I would think, if you agree.
I agree 100%.
I sort of knew you would. Bruce, thank you once again for the careful analysis of this one, and I do appreciate, as always, your opinion each week.
It's my pleasure to give it.
And it's our pleasure to hear it, and we do hope to talk to you again real soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured, with hopefully some relief for somebody who needs some legal advice today. And the same can happen for you. Make sure you get your question into us at kickscountry929.com. If you'd like to sit down and talk with Bruce and his staff, they'd be more than happy to consult with you on your legal situation for free. Just give them a call in their Port Charlotte office, 941-743-7777. That's 941-743-7777. They're on the southbound side of 41, about halfway between Forest Nelson and Midway. Don't let anyone take away your rights. Find out how to protect yourself and your interests by calling today, 743-7777. Tell them that Todd Matthews sent you from Kicks Country 92.9.